We are back on Fight News Now, and it's time to welcome in John Ramdine and Robin Black for this week's edition of 3 Rounds, as the UFC is back in Japan, which will be following the main event of this weekend's mixed martial arts action happening in Winnipeg.
Yes, Robin Black competing for the very last time as a mixed martial arts professional. You're going to get the victory on Friday, and then you're going to have an opportunity to enjoy the fights that go down at the Saitama Super Arena in Japan. When you think about high-level mixed martial arts, you think about George St. Pierre. Matchups, you think of Chris Weidman, Vitor Belfort, Nick Diaz, Anderson Silva. The main event in Japan, nothing like those fights. It's a throwback to the days of Pride Fighting Championship. In the main event, Mark Hunt taking on Big Country Roy Nelson, and I, for one, love it, as long as they do what we all expect or hope them to do, and that is keep it standing and throw down.
Yeah, it's going to be great, man. It's going to be really good. You talk about high-caliber mixed martial arts. We had some low-caliber mixed martial arts going on in Winnipeg. I'm going to give it my best to win. And thank you, brother. Thanks, John. Yeah, I'm excited about this, man. I'm really excited because the Japanese fans are going to love it. We're going to love it, but the audience is going to love it. They love sumo, so they got Big Country. Yeah. And they love Godzilla, so they have Mark Hunt. And when you have a giant sumo wrestler versus Godzilla, that's going to work every time. I love to go and break down the technical analysis of fights all the time. That's what I love to do. I love to do it on Sunday morning. I love to do it before the fights. But a fight like this is really more about the spectacle, more about the feeling. Sure. They're both really great fighters. Roy Nelson's right hand has been as good or better than almost anybody's. He moves on deceptive angles. He has a deceptive reach because of the shape of his body. Randy Couture talked about Brock Lesnar's reach being so weird because of the proportion of his body. Roy Nelson kind of has that going, and Mark Hunt is so technically good on the feet, deceptively technically good. But really, you got a giant sumo wrestler versus Godzilla, and it's good times.
Now, when you look at Roy Nelson, he has the opportunity to train in Las Vegas. We talked about it before. Ray Sefo, K1 background, a similar style to Mark Hunt, because they both came from that K1 organization. And for Ray Sefo, we've seen what type of teaching he has. Brad Tavares, for example, kind of similar to Mark Hunt's abilities. So would you expect that Roy Nelson to tour around, to train with those guys? Because the problem in the past is Las Vegas hasn't had a whole lot of heavyweights for the athletes to work with. Frank Mir has talked about in the past. That's why he went to Greg Jackson's. But for Roy Nelson, like you said, he has Ray Sefo there, as well as he wants to work his ground game. One of the best in the world, and Robert Drysdale is there. And when he's not cutting weight, he is a heavyweight.
Yeah, you know what, though? There's this weird thing about Roy Nelson. I just can't figure it out. Like, is Roy Nelson really this odd character?
Who trains in his living room?
Yeah, exactly. Or is he just selling us this? And Dana White likes it, so he's selling it to us as well. Is he really some genius who is camouflaging his brilliance with a mullet and a beard and a big belly, and really is this analytical genius that's putting together this conceptual way to beat Mark Hunt with his technical pinpoint striking and a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Or am I just cutting too much weight and he's just a fat guy who wants to go in and throw big punches?
I think that these guys are going to entertain. When you look at the co-main event, the former Pride lightweight champion Takanori Gomi taking on the undefeated Miles Jury. We all know how talented Miles Jury is. I don't know if he's in his prime right now, but certainly on his way to be in his mixed martial arts prime. 14 victories as a professional, has that win over Diego Sanchez. Takanori Gomi somehow managed to lose a decision to Diego Sanchez in Japan. You know, you talk about Gomi and you think that, you know, maybe he's not as evolved. He's got a lot of miles because of the time in Japan. Remember, this is an organization where you could stomp and soccer kick your opponents. But you go back and you look at that last fight with Isaac Valley Flag. Very, very close fight, but Valley Flag is an evolved fighter training at Jackson's, and for Gomi to be able to handle that, it shows me that he might be a little more evolved than we've given him credit.
He was able to just handle that, and I think he's learned a lot of new stuff. I mean, the sport is entirely different from his earlier days. He's still young enough to learn stuff, but some of these guys, what makes them great is their genetics, is their desire, the fact that they will always overcome, and that that desire to always overcome sometimes makes you not take the smartest angle line from A to B, but makes you barrel all the way through it. If he does that with Jury, man, he's in a lot of trouble. I'm drinking the Miles Jury Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
He's 14-0 for a reason. He's technically very, very good. He's mentally very good. He's incredibly athletic. He's the perfect example of what they're doing down at that gym Alliance, where he's the right combination of those tools and those skills. I'm a big believer in this guy, and I think he's going to finish the Fireball Kid.
Do you expect that Gomi is going to come out like he's come out so many times, throwing wild punches, and that's where Jury just, let him throw those punches, batter his body, wait till he gets into the second or third round, turn it up, and take out the former Pride champion?
I do. I think he's going to draw him forward and move out on angles. When you miss, if you miss a guy, you obviously do not strike him, but it also sends you flailing forward. Sometimes it makes you move in more aggressively with your own body weight, and if Jury steps out on hooks and uppercuts and moves on angles and smashes those legs, I think he's custom made to beat at least the old Gomi. If there's a new Gomi that we don't know about, all bets are off.
Miesha Tate also competing against the undefeated Rin Nakai. Rin Nakai, just a powerhouse. But Miesha Tate, in my opinion, very, very experienced, very, very crafty. This is a must-win situation for her if she wants to get another crack at the 135-pound title. But I know in the past people say, fighters from Japan, they just can't put it together in North America. But Rin Nakai has a victory over Tara LaRosa, and people could say, you know what, Tara LaRosa's past her prime, but I have a feeling she's going to bring it. But for my money, I got to look at this fight between Katsunori Kikuno and Sam Cecilia. These guys are going to put on a show.
And same thing, Cecilia just roars forward, and Kikuno hits things on their way in. That's a great one. It's a great card. It's a lot of fun, man. I can't wait.
John, any particular fight you're looking forward to on the card?
Kikuno Cecilia, very interesting, but I think it begins and ends with the main event and how long or how proficient each guy is successful in. Thank you very much, guys. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at Robin Black himself as he gets set for his 10th and final fight coming up this Friday. Plus, we'll also have our weekly viral video and more as we continue on Fight News Now.